What's up to another episode of Games Recap?
Morning.
What is the show about, Larry?
This is the best show to get all the latest and greatest information about what's been going on the consumer side of the games industry. So you want to find out the biggest news about console makers, about game makers, about people who buy games, and just riff-raff, rumors, scuttlebutt, and all nonsense related to those topics. You got to watch Games Recap because we bring it all together in one 1 hour source. And we add in some jokes every now and then, some guest appearances maybe, so...
Mm-hmm. Maybe most likely Ray whenever he's stops being a loser and quit his job, so he can join us at 10 a.m. every morning, which is a perfect segue. We are here obviously on Twitch, but if you're rewatching this on YouTube, of course, welcome. And today's topic, we're talking about 4 specific topics today. We're gonna start off with Star Wars Jedi, because a lot of people shared the same sentiment as myself. I'm talking about overall people were pretty much underwhelmed. Not just the art, but the gameplay. It felt arcadey. It felt repetitive. Nothing glaringly obvious. And the main character himself was just a pretty much like off the page classic hero. So nothing special that stood out.
AKA Gen Eric.
Pretty much. And so after that, we're going to talk about a little bit of Fortnite and how its viewership and playership has been dropping in the last 12 months compared to last year's numbers. Thirdly, we're going to talk about what is the last topic? Let me look at it real quick. All right. Because I'm going off we're talking about the Game of Thrones game from George R.R. Martin. Not the game of Game of Thrones, but
the George R.R. Martin RPG.
But from software, which is Elden Ring. And look a little bit at that and see what the possibilities are. And lastly, but not leastly, we'll talk about Shenmue 3 and how they're being screwed with the Epic
Store exclusivity.
Yes.
I'm excited to get into that one because that sounds like I'm going to learn something. I know Shenmue 3 is on the way, but I didn't know that they were getting screwed.
Oh, yeah. They're being screwed hard. So with that in mind, we're going to go ahead and take a look and talk about what is going on with the Star Wars thing. So we're going to switch to you real quick.
You want me to pull up?
Yeah, pull up right now. And so your overall impression was you were kind of looking forward to it, as everybody.
Yeah, I think when I think about the Star Wars games, I know that it's been a little hit or miss, right? Like Battlefront 1, the first remake of Battlefront, when it's like, hey, Star Wars Battlefront is being rebranded. And the first one comes out, it was multiplayer only. And, it was cool enough. I really wish they had single player. So then I got my wish, obviously, when they did the second Battlefront. They added a single player campaign, and they had a cool multiplayer. Problem there is they run into, like, the necktie game design where they say, greed wins over everything, and they microtrans the hell out of that experience, put everything behind unreasonable play gates and, very convenient pay gates, and that strategy kind of bit them in the ass. Yeah. So what do we got here? So this is the trailer.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a trailer pretty much that we saw. And as this is playing, the things that came out afterwards was that behind closed doors with press, what they saw compared to what they actually had hands on was completely different. The people that actually played it said it was more like a cross between Metroid. Like they were Metroid, Dark Souls, and
Dark Souls.
Yeah. Yes. So as you can see, like the impression of what the trailer was, how underwhelming it was from what's being marketed to the actual gameplay was completely different. So imagine just that blend of Metroid and Dark Souls. That's a completely different thing that I'm seeing right now.
I don't even know how to start to imagine
that. They're saying that you have actually a ship and you have actually a crew that you manage. So there's a management system behind it. And none of that you're seeing in the trailer, which is very generic. Bait and switch. So with that in mind, what is your initial impression?
I mean, I guess it's still hard, to kind of put my dice down and make a bet because... Again, like you say, like when I'm looking at this trailer, I'm not yet seeing the gameplay experience. I'm seeing a lot of, single player cutscene type stuff. And I guess the hard part for me is just, I don't know where to even begin to start to understand what my gameplay experience is going to be. It looks like we just transitioned into gameplay here. And I'm not seeing any sort of ship management. It looks like it's going to be a stealth, get to this glowy part of the map and, do some Jedi shit on the way.
Yeah.
So that, I mean, like a basic level design setup. So there's, I mean, nothing crazy happening here. So as far as the Dark Souls part, I don't know if I would have mixed that as the combat system for a Star Wars type game. There's a lot of games coming out now that have kind of leaned a little more Souls in how their combat design works, and knowing when to strike, knowing how to strike, knowing what counters what, and it's a lot less about like numerical damage and attrition, and more so about pattern recognition and just understanding, the bosses or the enemy's strengths and weaknesses. Mm-hmm. So like I get, like, yeah, it's a great system, but I never would have paired that with Star Wars, because Star Wars for me, I wouldn't say like holding a lightsaber has anything to do with attrition. Lightsaber combat to me is more like samurai. It's like parry, 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 oops, death.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like you lost a hand if you missed.
Yeah.
If it goes through your body, that's it, game over. And so I think that as a game designer myself, I would love to weigh in like on a combat system that was a little more like that. That like I don't want to hit somebody with a lightsaber 4 or 5 times. Yeah. They play their struggle knockback animation and then come back for more. Yeah. If I hit you with that thing, it's going through you. You're losing limbs. Yeah. Or you're just down completely.
Yeah. I'm always been kind of like pulled apart with how the
like
lightsaber combat. Right, well, lightsaber combat has definitely evolved from the original trilogy. It was more like fencing. It was more about like parry, parry, and then hit, parry, parry, hit. And then when we went into the prequels, where it got very flowery with a lot of martial art, and I come from a martial art background, bullshit. Like it looked great, but it just went too far.
Like the Ray Park, Darth Maul era.
I like that. Okay. See, I'm that's why I'm on the wall with that stuff. It's like it looks great, of course. It's choreographed. It's way more complicated than the original trilogy. But there was something endearing about the original trilogy, where it was more controlled and samurai and realistic. Yeah. And I feel like a lot of the games are kind of borrowing from the very flowery type of lightsaber fights, instead of just like, remember the old game where it was like the arcade game where you had to hold the joystick and you were able to fight with Darth Vader, right? That to me feels more like a compelling gameplay lightsaber type of moment than pressing a bunch of buttons and doing like Arkham Asylum combos, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's for me like they don't fulfill the fantasy. And so like I'm watching this guy with a health bar and he's just gonna get lit up with a lightsaber for 20 seconds, then he's gonna get back up and be like, oh, let me activate my real power. Oh, look at that. Lightsaber across the chest, it just fades away and he's back in the game. Like I would not do that. And I think that when I look at a game like this, where I would comment on combat being like this is like perhaps they have a lot less to lean on, right? Because let's say they do go with a more, like a very, let me take 2 steps back. If they went with the combat style like very samurai, the amount of tension that builds up in a fight, every move, every flick of the joystick matters incredibly. Because if you create an opening and the enemy exploits it, or if the enemy creates an opening and you recognize it, those like instant jolts of like is what really makes you appreciate something like this. And I could play that hours and hours and hours because I love the tension. Plus, when you get really good at it, you actually feel like you're really good at it because you'll recognize all the threats, you'll recognize all the openings, and you'll have a great time. Even though you don't have to have 25 fights from the start to the end of the level, you could just have 2. Right. But if you build the combat system right, and you really put a lot of onus on that whole like, okay, I cannot let him hit me, and I have to get the hit. Like if it's life or death every fight. People think that would get old, but if the enemies are different, if the strategies are different, plus it's a damn video game, all you have to do is reload last checkpoint, reload last mission, and you're right back in there. Yeah. I would love an experience like that where it's less about like moment-to-moment run-and-gun combat with a lightsaber, more about building up the moments, finding ways to get to these fights, give me the story, let me do Force-related things to get to the fights, but then when I'm in the fight, it's showdown every time.
Well, like lightsaber, it's... Again, to be realistic, it has to be along the lines of fencing, or actually with a samurai sword when you're actually fighting with a sword, and a lot of it is like boxing, right? You're about closing the gap, and then you attack, right? I wish a Star Wars game will actually, take a step towards that direction more because I feel it's like a more compelling type of gameplay.
Yeah.
And the Force stuff, has to have some kind of build up. You know what I mean? It can't be just me flagging you with my hands and then you fall back. It's like there's maybe a meter that you have to build up to kind of, and then it takes a lot of time to, and you're completely vulnerable. Those are the give and takes.
Yeah.
I think basically what a Superman game would be falling into, right? Because as a Superman, you're overpowered. As a Jedi, you're overpowered, right? And if you don't have those give and take moments from the gameplay perspective, I feel like it falls flat. It feels like Force Unleashed. With me, that's what it felt like.
I didn't really like Force Unleashed. I went back to Xbox Live Arcade or Games Pass. I downloaded both Force Unleashed 1 and 2. I probably put about 30 minutes into the first one, and I was like, I remember fighting Darth Vader in the Forest. And that demo.
The only Star Wars game that I liked was that one joystick where you played multiple things. But like even the lightsaber fights, again, was so compelling to me because it was just you blocking left, blocking. It was a lot more like boxing, right? I remember I related to a lot to like Fight Night. A Fight in the Round. What was it? A Fight Night?
Which one?
The EA game, the boxing game.
Which Fight Night? They had a bunch.
Oh,
you mean
any of them?
Okay.
But like the idea that you used joysticks as your arm.
Okay, so like I think that when they went that way was like actually Fight Night when they first did the like face physics. Like I think at the same time they were using Fight Stick with that face.
Yes,
slow-mo destruction.
I wish the combat were more like that, where your joystick is controlling the lightsaber and you're like really being methodical with how you defend. But right now you're just running around like you said. It's like running guns. So even if there is like a whole element where you're managing a ship and crew, and then you go on these missions and you fight, like it's not enough if I go to these parts because this, I assume, is part of the game, right? Even with all that back press saying that there's more to it, this is probably a big portion of the game where the arcadey part feels pretty empty, and like the protagonist himself just looks so generic, dude.
His name's Eric.
It's like unless they're making a create your own avatar. At
his
the
name's
beginning.
Eric. His name's Eric.
So it's Eric. So there isn't like a Mass Effect element.
No, I mean that's the joke.
Yeah. But like there's, as far as you heard, right? There isn't like a creative your own avatar at the beginning of the game, right?
I think that's your character right there. The story is built around this individual.
He's so empty as a character. Of course, we didn't really hear too much dialogue throughout the trailer, so we don't really have a good sense. But everybody was kind of echoing the same thing, even when they had hands-on impression of it. So it's very hard for me to kind of hope that this is going to be better than it is.
For me, when it comes to character design, especially for a big protagonist or for a big hero, I don't want to use the words that not everyone is familiar with. So this is your main character, right? If you just look at his face, because you're going to spend a lot of time trying to get to know this person's face. Yeah. If you don't look at any of the body, just look at his face. What's one recognizable thing about this character versus any character you've seen in any media plus real life, right? Nothing. Hairstyle, seen it 1,000 times. Face, seen it 500,000 times. You're taking two very common elements and you're building that into the face. Yeah, that's already a poor start, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'm not even sure about this wall climbing thing, dude. It's like, isn't that trying too hard to be Uncharted? It's like
they're reusing tech that they had, right? Like they knew how to do it. They put it in another game. Like why not shoehorn, save some money?
Look at this.
I've never seen a Jedi wall climb, though, in any of the Star Wars games whatsoever. So there is that. I'd love to see a Jedi start doing like Dragon Ball Z Nimbus. Like if you can use the Force, right? Force yourself a piece of metal and then Magneto your ass around the level. I'd love to see that.
But even with the Force, that can be, I don't know, right? But if I had a chance to crack at making a Star Wars physics type of game using the Force, I would automatically go to more like a tighter ship and using those elements as like solving puzzles and stuff, more so than always combat. Of course there's elements to combat, but being clever, taking the Batman Spider-Man approach, sneaking around and using your powers to kind of, because right now you feel like Superman and you can walk into a base like this and freaking fight everybody. I mean, where's the build-up? Like, why would you ever be scared as a player to walk in? Yes, you will die once in a while because you're being bombarded by everybody, but
this is like God of War. Before God of War changed how they kind of do it, in my opinion. This feels a lot like God of War 3. Like, I've walked into the arena, the doors have closed, the enemies respond. Oh, is that a bug? I know that guy wasn't just standing there delivering dialogue, waiting to get his ass beat. So. Yeah. Oh, fuck your force.
Like, it needs to lean more into like the fighting combat games, like Mortal Kombat, Street Fighter. You know what I mean? When it's like 1-to-1 person, and if you add more people to that, it becomes more and more complicated.
Yeah.
I just wish like these type of games take that direction, especially when it's finally like more hand-to-hand combat, which I'm excited about because there's a lot of shooters out there. There's not a lot of like sword fighting games, unless you're talking about From Software or something, right?
The way that the movies sell the lightsaber, you have so much respect for the power of the lightsaber, right? And in these games, they use it like it's a fucking like it's Leonardo's staff, and you just walk out there and you just lightsaber everything.
Yeah, that's why I feel if these games take a page from Fight Night, I think Warmer Steez.
You know who this guy reminds me of? You ever watched Shameless? That's the middle brother. It's like the middle brother.
This is based off of a character, like an actual actor.
Yeah.
So it's an actual actor's face that you're seeing right now. Sorry, dude. You look generic.
No, it's like freckles, right?
Yeah.
Could have happened. Some sort of beard design. I hate to say this, but people like use scarring.
Yeah.
Something with a hairstyle that we haven't seen before. A trinket or a memento that they like. Remember the little Ewan McGregor? Remember that one little piece of hair, the Jedi, the Jedi braid? That one little thing, right? You don't see that very often, so that's a standout. That's a standout design element. I don't know. Not to just talk about the art all day. I think that where that game could have been stronger is like there's an awesome 1-2 punch combination. Is tons of things I can do with the Force, but that lightsaber is like. 2 things: deflect or kill. Yeah. Like literally, that's all you use a lightsaber for is deflect or kill.
Yeah.
The Jedi, I can pull your foot. I can use a lot of force to try to pull you. I can use a little force to try to just move your hand back. I can, like, if you can give me a combat system where the Force actually does these little micro things that try to create advantages.
Yeah.
And then I try to exploit, like, oh, you weren't paying attention. I pulled the smoke. Whatever, some sort of pipe, it puts smoke in your face, and for a second you like are stunned. I've created an opportunity to either advance and get closer or to try to withdraw some more because you might have been like whooping my ass in the combat. So like I would love some sort of multi-layered rock, paper, scissor kind of element.
Yeah. I've also heard like while they're making this game, and the problem why making Star Wars or Lucasfilm related type of games is that Lucasfilms has like the final say in a lot of these decisions to make sure that their game is their license being represented in all their mediums. So there's a lot of things or pushbacks or delays and like decisions that gets thrown or gameplay stuff that gets thrown out the window from the guys upstairs over at Lucasfilms. So with Respawn, I've heard there was some troubles with that, going back and forth, doing what's proper and what's not proper. So when you have something that like that in development cycle, it only just causes trouble, right? So I don't know if that plays a part. It seems like they're still delivering this on a timely manner. The last time they talked about Star Wars at Respawn was a few years ago. So this game isn't like an 8+ year type of development game. But it was nice to kind of hear that there is more to the game than this. This is just EA again, just fucking up on the marketing, dude. It's like it really is, dude. They called the shot. They're like, let's show action. People love action, and let's forget all this time management, crew management stuff, which is again a mistake.
Where I give Respawn credit is they won me over with the single player from Titanfall 2. So they get the benefit of my doubt. Before actually putting this game in my hands, I reserve critical judgments, right? Like I'm making suggestionable things or requests based on what I'm seeing. But I mean, those guys, like Titanfall 2 single player was fantastic in my opinion. Something that people need to go experience before it's like too far out of the console generation that it just doesn't hold up. I don't know how long that will be, but right now it still holds up. With what I'm seeing here, I just would have loved, I guess, a little more Star Wars fantasy fulfillment. I think I know it's a video game, and I know that like if someone's saying if they made it too hard, Warmosties, like if they made it too hard, they might alienate a lot of customers, and obviously that doesn't help.
Yeah.
But I still think that like you gotta respect the fact that you're trying to deliver on a Star Wars power fantasy.
Yeah.
You're making me a Jedi, and everything that I've known and loved about a Jedi is not Kratos with blades of chaos just run in there and kill everything, right?
Yeah.
I only saw Yoda go ham one time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? For the rest of the time, he was always methodical. He was, thought out. He planned. He was very wise.
Look at this. Oh,
Nathan Drake. Ah.
This is like 5 stormtroopers. It's like, I got this shit. I'm going to swing in on a branch.
Even when the Jedis were great, right?
But they don't want
as soon as the storm, they were using cover, and they would pop out, block a couple, but like, go back. You know what I mean?
But the Jedi...
The
Jedi religion borrows a lot from Buddhism, right?
Sure.
And for you to still go in there and willy-nilly kill everything in your path, it feels very anti-Jedi, in my opinion, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't feel... There's no empathy. I think initially you would try to take him out without killing him, right?
Yeah, where's the mind control? Like that?
Yeah,
I feel like opening this door right now.
It's... Like, this is a perfect moment right here where he was surveying the fighting arena. He saw 6 stormtroopers, and instead of taking the Batman Arkham Asylum approach, or even some elements of Spider-Man, I'm like, all right, how do I evaluate this? How do I take them out without causing alarm? He just swung right in and just started killing a very lightsaber through the stomach. It's like, I'm the good guy, remember?
Yeah.
It's very hard.
My lightsaber is blue.
Yeah, it says blue. The only red is your blood tint. So it...
I'm going to heal through that jab straight through the stomach with a lightsaber.
Right.
Oh, healed. I'm back. Psych.
I mean, this is why I have a hard time like buying into any of the Star Wars game. I love the license. I love the movies. I love the series. Well, but it gets so arcadey. Like, even when press is trying to do some damage control at this point because everybody was super underwhelmed, same impression. They're trying to backtrack that there's a whole element, but this is part of it, dude. This is a big part of the game. You can't avoid how shitty this is. And the graphics too look pretty dated, man. And it's not to say that Respawn has always been the leading department for graphics, but you can't get away with this stuff if you're not doing a shooter.
God of War.
Yeah, if you're doing a multiplayer shooter, even now multiplayer shooters look really good, but they usually take a step back from single player experience. This is a single player experience. You need to bring out the best, but everything just looks...
What I would love... Even just for the parry,
like glass console,
parry system for Star Wars. Yeah. This one change would actually probably make me really happy. Instead of just being able to like hold the parry button, and as long as you're doing that, you're gonna automatically parry. Yeah. Make me actually have to like Daigo Umera like time that shit out. So if the bullet is coming, as long as I hit any strike,
that's what I'm saying.
Right when the impact would have been,
like they should have concentrated on the very basics and then spread that branch of gameplay from holding the lightsaber correctly. Stabilizing it and being able to parry and building up the force and actually have that compensation, right, of actually using the force. It's like where's the payoff, or not the payoff, but what is the trade, what's the bargain for using the force?
Uncharted again.
Yeah, this is like a super monkey Superman, dude. There's like what. He can take out everybody with this type of skill set. It just doesn't seem there's any danger.
So I think when I look at the combat here, I think that I don't feel any threat. I don't feel any danger, and so therefore the combat doesn't matter.
But the camera's shaking, Larry.
And so that's a difficult thing for me as a player because if I'm going to be playing, let's just assume 10 hours through this story, and I am going to have hundreds of battles. If none of them matter, if it's a war of numbers, like, oh, I'm pretty sure I'm going to kill all these guys, but how much damage will I take? If that's all that I care about, then none of your combats matter. If each bullet doesn't matter to me, then the whole fight is just ass, in my opinion. Yeah. Because what I'm looking for is, like, obviously any one of these bullets to my unprotected flesh without a lightsaber deflection, it will be critically damaging, because that's how the Star Wars universe sells it. You know what I mean? Whenever you see someone get shot, they drop their weapon, they go off camera because they need to heal, because their whole arm just got obliterated by like a plasma blast.
Yeah.
Over here, it's like, 3 health.
Yeah.
You can't miss that, man. So I think that a lot of that beauty from the movie, people may think that it doesn't translate to a game, or it may make it too difficult.
Yeah.
You got to understand, like, having different ways to attack a combat scenario is what really helped the combat system in Batman Arkham's, like you were saying, because sure, that's the like just guns blazing approach, but that was always the hardest way to get it done. That was always the hardest way. Fighting everybody was always the hardest. Now, if you're the type of player that enjoyed that, or that was more fun, fine. But usually, because of the breakdown of to do it perfectly and never have a fight was also very difficult. But each layer of like failure at least got you into the fight at some point.
Exactly.
Did you fight 5, 4, 3, 2, or 1?
Yeah, this dude's taking on everybody. Fighting spiders in a room full of
stormtroopers. That's not fun. I'm not excited about just running through killing every and anything, because I've done that for years on so many consoles.
Put a lightsaber in my hands and throw me out there. I'm not going to go in there and take out a room full of stormtroopers. It's like, I'm going to try my best to get around that, sneak through it.
Do you know how many Jedi
create distractions with the Force, you know? That's the intimate approach that I want a Star Wars game to be.
Do you know how many Jedis we've seen die?
I know.
Like, that's like, but this guy...
This dude is better than Yoda. What the fuck? Generic ass face Eric. Look, there's another spider. Well, he's going to be fine. Anyways,
if you never feel a sense of danger, I don't care what you show me. Like, that's where they're losing it for me. Is it would really be nice if, I mean, I know you got to sell a demo, but like, intimacy will still sell the demo.
I know.
Like, creating like a small crafted moment where you really pull on my own personal sense of what do you call that? What's that inert when you're like, human preservation? Like, my own sense of human preservation. You need to pull on that, because you want me to feel like I'm going on this epic adventure to like restore balance to the Force in this huge universe. Yeah.
Nobody wants to play Superman.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to play before Superman.
Yeah.
I mean, that's like
He's got nothing to lose.
Yeah, the basis of every anime series. You start at the beginning, unless it's like One Punch Man, which is kind of like being ironic, but.
Yeah, that's fourth wall breaking.
That's fourth wall breaking. But at this point, like, you don't want to be Superman at the beginning of a Jedi game. Anyways.
Good luck. If you're really excited about this game coming out, I hope you enjoy your experience. I definitely hope that it plays better than it's being sold. Some of the stuff that is hidden behind the scenes that press got to see, very interested to know what those things are and what the experience is like when you actually get it on a console. But for me, look at this. Right? Like, okay. You and McGregor in that scenario would have just kept walking. Would have just slid right on by.
Pretty much. Fuck this. All right, I'm not fast forwarding this. I don't know how they're going to do. Obvious, we have friends at Respawn. We respect Respawn. We come from Call of Duty. Yeah. It would not exist without them. And so it was... So right now we're talking about Fortnite, right? Obviously, Fortnite has taken the world by storm. Everybody loves Fortnite. Well, except us. I don't really play Fortnite. I appreciate it. I appreciate it. I appreciate it.
I have a certain view on the whole entire
But we had a theory a year ago before Fortnite became a huge phenomenon. Battle Royale, like with PUBG. We always felt like the Battle Royale will eventually start sliding.
Yeah.
Right? And it has shown in the last 12 months a huge slide, right? A lot of people are still watching, obviously, on Twitch. They had a Pro-Am event. I don't know know about this event?
Yeah.
Okay. Last year they had a Pro-Am event, which is they invite celebrities and like streamers together. And last year was huge. It was over 1 million people kind of like twitching in to watch. This year there was like a 72% drop.
But what are you going to see, right? Like, if you really think about it as the viewer, other than the idea of like, wow, I'm going to get to watch Drake play Fortnite, but you only hear Drake's voice and you see his character, right? You're actually not seeing Drake playing Fortnite. That's the only draw I could think of at this point. Yeah. Because watching anybody play Fortnite is literally, in my opinion, replaces me watching anybody play Fortnite. So, like, do I have to watch Ninja play? Do I have to watch Dr. Disrespect play? Or can I just hop into somebody's stream? As long as they're decent, more or less the difference in like my enjoyment of the experience, and this is me personally, is roughly the same, right? I see people stalk each other down, they find each other, and then they start doing like building jousts until one person remains supreme. It's like, okay, cool. But like
the viewership has dropped, but there is a relationship to playing as well. So playing in the last 2 months have been trending down.
Yeah. Well, it's
it shows spikes every time when the season comes out, which is every 3 months. But it also showed like, you know, if Apex did affect it at when it did release, but then it was able to regain its playership base. But you know, last year could be attributed to a lot of battle royales and a lot of choices. We're talking about Call of Duty with their $60 game having a battle royale component, and then Battlefield recently with their Firestorm battle royale component. Like every game is taking a piece of the pie, and it's affecting overall Fortnite being a dominating monopoly.
I would say the stupidest thing that Epic could do is think that no one's ever going to get tired of steak.
Yeah.
And no matter how good the chefs are, no matter how many different ways they tell me about spices and seasonings and dry age and whatever, eventually I'm going to get tired of steak, especially if I'm supposed to eat it every day for weeks, for months, for years. And so this is no disrespect to the development team. It's just, you know, understand that like every single product you guys have ever made has a journey, right? It has a rise, it has a sustain, and it has a fall.
Yeah.
That is inevitable no matter how much you pump into it. Eventually people are going to be like, I've been playing Fortnite for months. I've been playing Fortnite for years. I've been playing
what
Fortnite
else is
for
there?
exactly. I'm growing as a consumer. Like look at World of Warcraft. People who played WoW Classic now might have families, responsibilities that keep them from playing video games. People who started playing Call of Duty when it became annualized, now life completely different. You know what I mean? You just have to understand that there is a cycle to every project. I don't know how long it'll be when we'll see a game that is just so like, I don't know when we'll see the video game version of chess or basketball or like without changing anything besides minor rules. You have hundreds of years of participation in that game. Like that specific game. I don't know when we'll see that for video gaming.
This is where I feel Activision, the few compliments that we can give to Activision, is really good at and have been mastering this annualized type of event. For the Call of Duty franchise now, you know, of course, Blizzard's a part of that. They're trying to make that a thing over there. Everybody's kind of scared because Blizzard, if anybody, is like the creative ship, right? They are known to take a long time, take their time to make sure that anything that's being put out under that brand would be excellent, right? Nothing short of excellent. And so the fear is, of course, Activision kind of annualizing everything, kind of. The problem being they really saturate the market, right? We're talking about the Call of Duty franchise, which is there's still leading IP, but with the toy to life business, where like there was a good 3 years where they were dominating, and then they're completely gone. We're talking about Guitar Hero. We're talking about Tony Hawk. They, I think, have figured that, like you said, people gets tired of steak. Even when we come up with new seasons and new DLC updates, unless you throw a number behind it, right, there's value to reinvigorating newness with the oldness.
Sure.
And so Overwatch 2 inevitably will be coming out, which you and I feel like we're past that time of putting out sequels and putting numbers. Like Overwatch should be the brand, and anything you update should be just updates. But I think with their data, it shows that maybe if Fortnite 2 comes out, they might have a better chance to restart that hamster wheel and like have another 2-year run of like being at the top. What were your thoughts on that?
What scares me about seeing a Overwatch 2, me specifically, is I immediately think fragmented audience experience, right? Of course, people are going to try Overwatch 2, but what if they didn't bring over one of my favorites? So Overwatch 2, is it going to launch with the exact same amount of characters as Overwatch 1? No, they're not going to do that. I don't believe. I don't see the cards at Blizzard. I'm assuming like they're going to develop the game. There's probably going to be a new art style. There's probably going to be better looking characters, higher poly counts, more attacks, like they're going to up the ante.
Yeah.
With that said, I don't think that they're going to give us every single launch Overwatch character that we have right now. So therefore, some people are obviously going to be disappointed, like, oh man, I can't play Doomfist because he's not in Overwatch 2. I can't play. What if they make all new characters, right? Huge audience fragmentation happening there. I personally would much rather see them just overhaul Overwatch and just keep calling it Overwatch, like you said, in that case, because I think that they could be setting themselves up for disappointment in a lot of ways. No matter how cool the game is, Overwatch and Fortnite have both become games where the personalization matters. Yeah. Like I have my play style. Yeah. I have the characters that match that play style that I love, that I've spent, at this point, years getting like epic at, right? Yeah. And then Overwatch 2 is going to come out, and now if that character is not in the game and plays the same, right? Like Ken and Ryu are in every damn Street Fighter, and their movesets are very similar, slight tweaks.
Right.
Like day one, I have somebody who I can go to, who I know, and like I still have some level of mastery. It's not reset the clock every single time.
Yeah.
So if I was actually Epic, now this is to Epic in regards to Fortnite instead of a Fortnite 2, I think the strength of Fortnite is they've given us an art style and a deep customization system for what you actually look like, represent, and how you dance or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Simple things, but like I want to be the ninja guy. I want to be the samurai mecha. I want to be the, old militant, whatever. People have like really identified with some of these skins that they get to play and get to be. I think the strength of Fortnite is they have a beautiful art style.
Yeah.
I would love to see more of what they're doing, like with creative mode. Instead of seeing Fortnite as a game, see Fortnite as a world.
Yeah.
I would love to see some creative ideas like Mario Party, right?
Yeah.
Where they're like, hey, you know what? We have all these characters in this world. Let's start just making these offshoot experiences and tying it together in other products. Like Mario Tennis, Mario Golf. What is like the Fortnite version of Nintendo strategy? Right? Fortnite Bowling, Fortnite, and it doesn't have to be sports, but just other properties or other games. So you got Fortnite Save the World, you've got Fortnite Battle Royale. What if you have some sort of Fortnite RPG? What if you had some sort of Fortnite adventure story mode?
So it would be packaged in the same thing still? It would be a new mode.
Exactly. Like I would love to see them explore additional modes where they take a small satellite team using Fortnite assets, but come up with like actual different games. Still multiplayer games as a service, letting people who have all their Fortnite skins, it carries over into this new game, even though it's like Fortnite basketball, but I'm still, you know what I mean, the Keanu Reeves character. I'm still the Red Ninja, or I'm still... So I think that could be very interesting. That's how you would sustain Fortnite.
I agree. Like, because if Call of Duty, the Activision guys, and Fortnite ever release another, it's a step backwards, right? Everybody's dream is to turn games into a service, and to reinvigorate, to kind of go back to like the PS3 days of like releasing sequels. It's again, you're telling your customers to go back and rebuy another copy. So you're gonna start from zero again, basically, build that back up to what you had before, and hope that it would go more for some reason. It's a weird pricing model, and if anything, it keeps restarting the community, which is what the Call of Duty franchise has an issue with. Every year, with every new Call of Duty, the online community depletes. Because they, a lot of them go and buy the new one, and they are within those online chat rooms, right? And not the ones that you're playing. So every year it becomes self-defeating.
You're creating
fragments, and that's there's no online constant world that you can always jump in and be okay. Like I love Modern Warfare, right? I love everything about that game. But I know for a fact if I jump back in, there's very few rooms and servers,
of you guys.
And it's like forget it. And like it's not like I can just pick up the latest Call of Duty and just have my Call of Duty days. It's completely different gameplay in a lot of them. Black Ops with what we did, Advanced Warfare and World War II. Like even within our own studio. Advanced Warfare, World War II, two different type of games. So even I build a skill set for one game, it doesn't apply to the other.
Doesn't carry over.
Yeah, so that's why like what Valve does with Counter-Strike, I think in terms of like the graveyard of shooters that gets outdated, Counter-Strike will be around probably 15 years from now, right? And still be reliable. I can jump right back in and have slightly better graphics than I remember, but the gameplay is still intact. The maps that I love are still there, and it's like classic games. Like I'm sure Activision is making like online PC component that is always. I'm sure they're thinking
Call of Duty
something.
service.
Call of Duty online PC service. I am sure.
Yeah.
Wink, wink. That they are working on that.
Yeah.
But they too recognize that issue, right? And I hope that they learn from that and not turn every Blizzard game into a sequel. I don't think Overwatch 2 is necessary. They just need to create. 2 is necessary. They gotta create a different. If they're trying to reach a certain audience that they haven't reached before, don't restart it, right? Don't blow everything up and restart it. Just like come up with a new mode to create that interest for people.
I think the art style of Overwatch can go another 10 years even. Like Team Fortress 2. People still play Team Fortress 2 and they don't say, man, the graphics. They go in there and they have fun.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? And because they have a solid game, it's fun to play. Yeah. You can still support it for years to come. And I think that much like Heroes of the Storm, I would love to see a 2.0. Yeah. And I hope that that's what they're doing. I hope when we might hear Overwatch 2, right? Yeah. That may not necessarily mean like new box copy. It still could actually be just an overhaul. Yeah. And I'm hoping more for that because I would really hate to see like people have to restart their investment. And that's like kicking the nuts to the fan. I hope that starts to die out in the game industry right now because it's completely disrespecting both my time and my money, right? To take all that from me for a year, 2 years, and then be like, okay, start from zero because we say so. Yeah. Like the consumer is trusting in you when they give you their money that they're going to get benefit and value out of their time, out of their input, out of their dedication to getting good at your product. You don't want to ruin that for people all the time and always reset. I'd rather you make a new game than to take something and like kill everything to restart it. And that's why I think that like competitively Call of Duty has always hurt me because I stopped caring about multiplayer. I would jump in a couple matches like, yeah, whatever. I was just playing the single players because I didn't want to fall into the trap of spending money to like get the loot boxes, to get all this gear and to feel proud of myself for the like 2-3 months that I finally have unlocked all that stuff, knowing that everyone's just going to jump ship to the new game and then I have to spend money and time all over again.
So I hope Fortnite, I mean, the guys at Epic understand and see this like trending down as not like a warning sign of making Fortnite 2, right? Yeah. I hope that they continue on and create new modes, like you said, create new ways to reinvigorate the community and bring everyone back, basically. They do a good job with all these battle royale games that come out. Anything that is glaringly awesome, like anything in Apex, because they had that gameplay component where you look at things, you click your middle button and you're able to tell your team to pick this up or not. Yeah. Within a week, they ripped that off in the classic battle royale Epic style.
Power for the course.
But you know, they're doing a good job maintaining everything, and hopefully whatever they have planned isn't a sequel, but more in lines of what you're saying. Yeah. All right. Let's talk about the third topic for today. So I got to ask you, like, what do you know about this game?
The Elden Ring.
Yeah, so we're gonna play the trailer. We actually saw this during the press conference. It kind of flew under the radar for me. I didn't realize what it was until I read up on it. And I was like, oh shit, it's the game from Software. With they teamed up with George R.R. Martin for the story, and this is like what that looks like, right? Which
Can't
is
wait to
pretty damn exciting.
20 hours and realize the story's not finished.
Yeah, the Dark Souls franchise is like the franchise that I always regretted kind of putting in the back burner because I'm literally not really caught up with a lot of the games nowadays, but it's a game that I would definitely play because it reminds me of Onimusha, like all of the PS2 classics and stuff.
I gotta hand it to him. That's a great way to start the
show. But Elden Ring is the name of the game, with a story from George R.R. Martin taking place in kind of like the middle-aged fantasy era. I think it's gonna be freaking awesome, man. Like the graphics and the gameplay component from that studio. This is like the perfect combination, and I'm glad they were able to work something out and get this going.
Let me put my arm back. Let's run it back.
Yeah. So this trailer isn't gameplay focused; it's cinematic mostly, but.
Man, it's so. I don't want to say it's easy to sell a fantasy game, but like, it must be so much fun to just invent fantasy mythos and just be like, this is the spear of Almadar. Oh, yeah. If you get hit by it, everyone in your family will just instantly suffer for thousands of years. Like and this is the crystal of Omnoxia, and if you break this crystal, an evil curse will be will affect this land for generations. Like, it's just, I don't know why I care about any of the stuff that I'm seeing. Yeah, it just looks cool. As long as it looks cool, like, you can like throw some huffy fluffy fantasy behind it. And that's totally disrespecting what the fantasy people do. Well, I'm just saying it must be a lot of fun to just like come up with this cool backstory, give something a magical purpose, and then put it all together and culminate it and call it an experience. Yeah. It's totally ignorant to the process. I get it 100%. But I'm just saying, like, I acknowledge that there must be a lot of fun because it's almost like an unlimited potential of ideas. Yeah. Your constraints, it's fantasy. You don't really, what constraints do you have? Just give it a purpose and make sure that it's not too obnoxious compared to all the other obnoxious things that you've done. Right.
So I'm kind of excited about this game. Obviously, the graphics are going to be great. I love the company, even though I haven't played any of the Dark Souls games. I love George R. R. Martin. I love his stories. So it's one of those games that I completely missed, but it's worth bringing up because I think it's one of those killer hits for sure.
What does that game have to do, though? Based on what you saw, what do they have to do to survive?
Oh, nothing. You just
we're in the era of people playing MOBA, huge. Like, I think biggest audience in gaming right now. Also sports, FIFAs, and all that huge audience. The market slice for a new RPG experience, I don't know where that lands on my radar these days.
Well, they have the reputation, that studio, right? People who love the Dark Souls trilogy will buy whatever. At this point, they've earned that, right? It's like whatever you put out, we will buy. There is I think the misconception nowadays for game developers and publishers that unless you're not making Fortnite numbers every month, it's not a game worth making, which is a misconception. Yeah, because you can still sell 5 million to 10 million units and be a profitable business.
The best way to kill that is how many games make Fortnite numbers every month.
Exactly. But like that's just the target that everybody has right now, the mentality. And these games will survive. God of War, like the Sony camp have been like doing a really good job, right? I feel like the console makers are par for the course. They are not panicking, right? They're still licensing and selling their games with great success, and a lot of their games are selling well, even in this era of 5-year development time, 300 plus teams, 10 million copies easily. Versus 5 million copies before in the PS3 days. These games are doing well for what it is, and though it feels like it's taking a lot of work, you still have a profit margin.
Well, you said you read up on this. Does this game feature single player story, or is it multiplayer co-op, or is it even like MMO?
It's kind of still iffy on the details.
So that's the hard part for me is I don't know what kind of experience I should expect other than like the fantasy element. Yeah.
I imagine it to be more like Dark Souls. You're still going through a single player. There might be a multiplayer element to it. But with George R. R. Martin, right? I think he's got to lean heavily on story.
More potential there for sales than if it's a play through this world as an individual, like Witcher, like Dark Souls, kind of, where adventure single player. Yeah. That pathway I could see being better for them than multiplayer co-op or MMO.
Okay. So let's go to our last topic for today as we're closing in. This is a long one. Shenmue 3, right? So when we first heard...
waiting 20 years.
All right, this is a game that...
Hey, mister, want to wrestle?
Yeah. Like, my first experience, of course, with Shenmue was on the Dreamcast. I went over with my friend. He bought the game, and we were playing it. I was like, this is awesome. Because you're playing as a martial artist, which is, unless you were playing Street Fighter or Tekken, didn't exist, really, right? A story-based, linear experience as a martial artist and kind of going through, like, your warrior's journey. Super exciting, super fun. Love it, right? And then they went probably bankrupt or something. Obviously, they weren't making money. Where Shenmue 3 took like a 20-year absence, the creator came back and said, "I need monies to make this happen," and without really too much of content being shown, was able to get it kickstarted within like a day, right? But like stories started to detail, like they actually got publisher money already, but Shenmue was kind of more like marketing for them. And so they kind of were dishonest about that. And so there was a period where there were some updates, some release dates got delayed, where no one were talking about it anymore. And then they came back with E3 2019 with this trailer and with more news saying that they're an Epic exclusive now. Yeah. So that's where we're at. What are your thoughts?
Well, I'm excited about Shenmue 3.
Yeah.
I've played through Shenmue 1, started Shenmue 2, never beat it. Really happy about Shenmue 3 finally reaching this point. Yeah. For me, as the fan of the linearity of the experience, I should probably find a way to just binge watch a playthrough of Shenmue 2 just so I can catch up. Because like you said, I loved the idea of being like, I'm like a blue belt, right? If you use the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu system, he's like a blue belt when he starts the game. He had martial arts training. He's decent. He can hold his own. But there were so many moves and so much more martial arts that you needed to master in order to be, what was his name? Quanji. What was the last guy? Quan Chi?
I don't know.
I forget. Anyway, the Shang Tsung looking guy at the end of the game.
Yeah.
So I like that journey. I think Shenmue as a property is still valuable. Obviously, day one Kickstarter, there's still support for it. People want to finish the story. Yeah. And I think a story like this deserves to get finished. So I'm excited.
I'm excited, but the graphics look like shit, dude. It looks like Dreamcast, man.
That's fine. It's fine for me because
whatever.
It was a lost cause, right?
Sure.
After Shenmue 2, you're talking like you went to Kickstarter to try to make Shenmue 3.
Right.
Obviously, you don't have the big publisher money behind it.
Yeah.
So play this for the story. Play this for the satisfaction of completing the saga.
Yeah, I wonder how many people worked on this game because it looks like a few people. Well, to be an Epic exclusive at this point, right? They have to be like somewhat under the radar, maybe back in the PS2 development size, 60 to 80. Like if it's 100 plus, it's like, why does it look so bad? So
what was you said they were screwed though? Like where was the screw job?
Well, a lot of backers at this point were wanting a Steam code, right? And that was part of the promises. And a lot of these trends that are happening now, a lot of the Epic exclusive is that forget you guys attitude. And it's like it's the backers again who believed in the project, the early supporters.
So I see what's happening.
Yeah. So it's the same Epic exclusive type of story.
So the game wasn't screwed. It's the backers who brought the game to light are now getting screwed because they thought they were going to get a Steam code out of it.
Yeah, everyone's upset is that now they have to be downloading the Epic launcher to play their Shenmue.
Oh, wait. Okay. All right. So hold on. So as the backer, they're still getting a free copy or no? Or they're getting a prepaid copy?
They should be, I think. Yeah.
Okay, but they're so salty that they've waited 20 years for Shenmue 3 to come out that the reason that they're not going to play it is because they won't take 3 minutes to go install an Epic launcher and start it.
Well, I understand from their point of view. It's like, hey, this is a project that seems to be on its only legs, right? And we went to support it, and now you're like having all types of money being thrown at you. And this is just a classic, like, I kickstarted you. And I don't know what the exchange is. I think the least that the gamers want is that I want to be able to play it on my Steam library, dude. Like I wanted to have it with me without having to have.
I have.
What are your feelings on that?
I have little sympathy.
Okay.
Mainly because of this.
Yeah.
Again, we're talking about Shenmue 3.
Yeah.
The game that's not supposed to exist.
Yeah.
Right. The game that I paid the money.
Yeah.
And now I'm seeing that the game is coming out.
Yeah.
And if I'm still going to get a copy, like I'm still going to get my money for it, it just happened to be an Epic exclusive.
Yeah.
Not a console exclusive, as in I was a PC backer and now I have no way of playing it because I don't own a PS4 or Xbox One.
Yeah.
You're literally telling me that, like, I get it, that there might be a principle thing here.
Yeah.
But this is like, hey, the Beatles, all four of them are back together. Like, this was never supposed to happen, but they're all alive. Right. They're performing. You bought a ticket 18 years ago. You get to go. And then you get all pretty. You go there. And then all of a sudden you find out that, like, the parking lot is full. You got to park just across the street. There's another lot. You just got to park across the street. And then walk. And then you'll get, oh, this is too much. This you know what? Like, you guys didn't even think of the parking situation. I bought my ticket. You should have had a parking spot. I don't want to walk across the street. Right. Are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah. Okay. I understand.
I'm going to the Beatles concert, man. Like, I'm not. The Epic launcher isn't going to be the reason why I don't get to enjoy my $35.
I think overall,
I have lower sympathy.
Yeah, overall, there's an appreciation and a focus on games kind of just being the thing for these platforms. Something that Steam has completely taken a backseat in. They're just creating a store, and you're lucky to be on our store attitude. Versus, like, these are great games. Where Epic is taking that approach is like, it's about the games. Yeah. It's about paying the developers their 10% and keeping their other 20% in their pocket. So it's hard to argue against what Epic is doing. Everyone is kind of like comparing them as bullying the market into their playing field. But to be honest, this is good because Steam would have been a monopoly at this point and would have been the only option. And these games are getting direct help from a very well-known publisher.
Let's weigh in on the push-pull effect. So I completely understand the disdain for experience fragmentation. And what I mean is, because I just complained about this a couple of days ago. Steam, Origin, Microsoft Game Pass, Uplay, fucking what's the Ubisoft? Oh, that's Uplay, right?
Yeah, Ubisoft is Uplay.
Exactly. Yeah. All these different places that I have to go to enjoy all my games in one place doesn't exist because now it's all fragmented. And Steam kind of was because it was the biggest, and if you adopted that platform, you did have the convenience of knowing that everything except for EA games was like on there. But now, much like Netflix, people are trying to create their own, because they're thinking about their experience as developer/publishers and not necessarily the consumer experience. So I 100% get it. Like, nobody wants to keep track of 500 to 2,000 or however many games they have across 6-7 different platforms. I 100% get that. But here's what I will say as a consumer. The overall benefit is competition is better for you. Your dollar is more valuable when people are competing for it. You know what I mean? Steam Store, for a long time, had no worthy threats whatsoever. So whatever they decided was just the way things were. We don't know that 30% had to be that way. Behind the scenes, if we really talk about all the things that Steam offers and we talk about all the services and all the costs that they incur to make the Steam Store the way that it is, how do we know as consumers that it actually is, like that 30% is an honest cut? It might be 11. It might be 4. We have no idea. But you know how you find out? A competitor does it for cheaper, and now Steam has to play ball. Yeah. But who benefits from that? The consumer. Because now you're seeing that, like, oh, because the developers are keeping more money, they're able to stay open longer, make more games. There's potential for who knows what. But the value of your money is always stronger when people are competing for it versus when people are demanding it. The only drug dealer on the block sets the prices. When there's 10 drug dealers on the block, you got to market. You know what I mean? So yeah, that's kind of my opinion. I say let the Epic Store be the Epic Store. Don't hate if it's just another launcher. I get it. It sucks. Maybe one day somebody will come up with a way to tie it all together, and then they'll sell you a subscription to their platform. Who knows? But I'm not hating on the Epic Store. I'm not so principled in the idea of the fragmentation that I'm unwilling to install one more thing that doesn't cost me anything to play games that I won't be able to play if I maintain that hold of, God dang it, Steam or nothing.
Well, I mean, that concludes today's topics. Yeah. Join us again tomorrow. If you're watching us on Twitch, you can always catch us on our YouTube account if you missed us. Obviously, if you're watching us, somehow you found us. And stay tuned for our next show, Invisible Walls. We're going to talk to martial artist Derek Liu. All right. You might have heard of him. But that concludes today, and I'm going to let Larry see us out.
Much like a soda that I didn't finish drinking and put back in the fridge, consider yourselves recapped.
Oh, shit.